This is Modern Service Mastery, Business School with boots on. Real lessons, real talk, and real growth for the residential service industry. Let's get to work.
So here's the deal. A client doesn't just buy a contract from you. They buy an experience. And that first after-sale experience, it's the client preview meeting. You've heard me say it before. Great companies don't just hand off projects, they hand them up. It's about creating confidence, not confusion.
Totally. And you know what's wild? That moment when you bring sales ops and service together for the first time, that's where the magic or the mess happens. Like you either crush it or it all falls apart in front of the client.
Exactly. That's why alignment is everything. If sales gets the yes, but ops can't keep the promise, you lose credibility. Plain and simple. But the preview meeting is your shot to show the client that you're not just handing them over to some faceless team. You're showing them a united front, a team that knows their stuff and cares about getting it right.
And it's such an easy win if you think about it. Like show up 15 minutes early. It's not just being polite, it's your pre-game huddle. You walk the site, get your notes aligned, and then when the client arrives, boom. They see a well-oiled machine ready to tackle the job.
Exactly. Here's a story for you. We had this client, big backyard renovation, $75K project. The salesperson, the PM, and the designer all met the client at the property for the preview meeting. They arrived early, walked the yard, talked through the design together. When the client arrived, they were ready. The salesperson led the intro with confidence, and the PM kicked things off by asking, "Has anything changed since we last met?"
Love that. It's like you're inviting them to feel more involved. Now the client's thinking, wow, these guys actually care about what I want.
Exactly. And guess what happened? The client mentioned they were thinking about adding lighting, immediate trust builder. The PM didn't flinch. He said, "Perfect. We'll lay it out today, price it out, and I'll circle back tomorrow." The designer jumped in with, "I have flags in my car. Let's figure it out right here." And it worked. By the time they wrapped up, the client literally said, "I love this team."
Dude, that's how you do it. And not to mention, they just scored a second sale in the same meeting. That's the power of being prepared.
It really is. And here's where measuring it comes in. Imagine if every team scored their preview meetings, how well they showed up, communicated, built rapport, and followed through. You aim for a gold standard, say 13 out of 15 points, and suddenly teams are invested in making those meetings shine.
Yeah, make it fun, right? Like gift cards for teams that crush it consistently. Plus, you're reinforcing the habits that make clients rave about you.
And that's the goal, turning a potential anxiety point into a moment of reassurance. The preview meeting isn't just a task, it's a promise. When you nail the handoff, the client stops worrying and starts believing. And that mindset carries forward through the entire project or account lifecycle.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's like you're not just handing off a baton, you're running together. This is a relay, not a race.
All right, so building on that, let's talk about how we practice for those preview meetings, because this is where you really see the power of preparation in action. One thing I always stress is adaptability. Every client is different, and you've got to read the room while sticking to your process. That's where internal previews come in handy.
Yeah, like if you're not syncing up as a team before the client steps in, how are you going to pull it off in front of them? You've got to look aligned, confident, and honestly like you actually know your stuff.
That's why the internal preview is non-negotiable. The salesperson, the PM, and even the designer, if they're involved, everyone needs to sit down and ask some simple but critical questions. What's the scope? What's tricky? Where do we need extra clarity?
And what's missing? Like, are there subcontractors we need to know about? Does the timeline have gray zones? Because if you don't nail this internal sync, you're walking into that client meeting blind, and it shows.
Exactly. And when you take it to the client, you got to nail those first 15 minutes. Show up early, get everyone on the same page, and lead with confidence. Let me walk you through a role play idea. Picture this, a new 50K front yard project. Salesperson leads, they introduce the PM, and the PM immediately starts building rapport.
Like, hey, thanks for meeting us. Is there anything new, anything that wasn't covered previously that you've been thinking about? Show them you actually care about their evolving ideas.
Spot on. And the follow-up question, what's the one thing you're most excited about with this project? Simple, but it gets the client talking positively. Meanwhile, the PM takes notes, snaps pictures, and clarifies scope. They're showing they own the details.
And clients love that. Like seriously, when you're jotting stuff down, they're thinking, oh wow, this team pays attention. And if there's an issue, handle it right there. No fumbling, no promises you can't keep.
Yep, you're turning potential hiccups into trust builders. I mean, how many times have we seen a small question turn into an upsell opportunity? Like that moment when the client says, "We've been thinking about an outdoor sound system." And right on cue, the PM's like, perfect, let's look at some options.
And now suddenly you're not just managing expectations, you're exceeding them. That's the goal.
Absolutely. But let's not forget, the real work starts after the meeting. The PM or account manager has to follow up within 24 hours. A thank you, a summary of next steps. It's simple, but it cements the relationship. Copy the salesperson if it's an email, just so everyone stays in the loop.
Yeah, and don't skip the neighbor card thing either. That's such an easy win. If you're walking the site, why not note the neighbors who might benefit from what you're doing there and send them a card? It's like free marketing.
And while we're on it, teams should be practicing these meetings before they happen. Walk through the plan, figure out the gaps. Maybe someone's weak on introducing their role. You audit, adjust, and sharpen your process continuously.
Totally. Plus, it's kind of fun to switch roles, like put the PM in the client's shoes or have the designer play the salesperson. You'd be surprised what you learn.
True. The idea is to keep it fresh and reflective, because here's the thing, these meetings aren't just about getting the work right. They're about showing the client they're in good hands. And when you show up like a team that's tight, prepared, and enthusiastic, that's when the magic happens. You know, Jake, we were just talking about preparation, but here's the thing. Practice isn't enough by itself. It's feedback that makes all the difference. Without feedback, you could be solidifying bad habits. That's why I believe in regular audits. They're how you hone the team's skills collectively.
Totally. It's like, how are you supposed to get better if no one's pointing out where you've got room to grow? And let's be real, these audits don't have to feel like you're being graded. They can actually be pretty motivating if you do them right.
Exactly. The best teams I've worked with and led don't see audits as a punishment. They see them as a way to stay sharp, uncover skill gaps, and keep improving. I mean, I remember this one time we ran a surprise feedback audit during a big project, only to find that our communication chain had a few cracks in it.
Oh man, that's rough. So, what'd you guys do about it?
Well, we brought the team together, laid out what we found, and asked, all right, how do we fix this moving forward? And you know what? That conversation turned into one of the most collaborative, solution-focused meetings I've ever been part of. People were inspired, not defensive, because the feedback wasn't just criticism, it was constructive.
That's the key though. Like, if you're running an audit, don't just call out what's wrong. You got to build people up. Come in with open-ended questions like, what's been working for you? What gets in your way? And then help them solve it. If you make it engaging, folks actually look forward to it.
Exactly. And when you approach it that way, you create a culture of continuous improvement. People stop being afraid of feedback and they start chasing it. That's how great teams stay great.
Yeah, and let's not forget, keeping it fun helps too. Like maybe throw in a little gamification. Reward teams with top scores or make it a friendly competition. People thrive when it's constructive and a little competitive. Keeps everyone engaged.
True. And the big takeaway here is this. The work you do to make your team better doesn't stop when you show up to the job site. It happens day in and day out with these little touch points, whether it's a formal audit, a role play, or a simple, how can we do this better moment?
Couldn't agree more. And honestly, it's kind of like what we talked about earlier. When you keep things sharp on the inside, it's going to show on the outside. Your team looks good, feels confident, and let's be real, the clients pick up on that.
That's it. The real winners in this industry are the teams that never stop learning and never stop improving. And for everyone out there listening, take this as your cue. Conduct those thorough client previews, embrace the audits, use the feedback, and keep raising the bar, not just for your team, but for yourself.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, all this effort pays off. Better teams, better projects, happier clients. And before we wrap, don't just listen. Be sure to knock out the action items from this episode. That's where the real transformation happens.
And don't forget to share your takeaways or questions in the comments. The community is where we grow together.
That's right. Keep learning, stay sharp, and keep leveling up. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to Modern Service Mastery Business School with Boots On. If this episode helped you lead, grow, or think differently, share it with your crew and keep the momentum going.